Oh, hello there, viewer. I see you met me in my ACC, Aerial Command Center, if you didn't know what that stood for. It kind of tells you in the game if you ever played Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. Anyway, this is sort of a series sort of thing I thought about a while back. Pretty much just talking about random things in the ACC. Why? Just because I can. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about Arsfarce, as I did read that short story that I made for the purpose of showing how difficult it can be to be a YouTuber, especially one of those ones that spends time editing their videos. Without further ado, I will now begin my chat about Arsfarce then. So basically, if you were wondering why Arsfarce has all those strange powers, basically, whatever he and Fang consume, obviously they don't have the same stomach though, so if they want to do whatever, then they have to eat it themselves. But basically, whatever Arsfarce consumes, and Fang as well, but like I said, not the same stomach, they need to consume the item for each of them if they wanted the power. Anyway, whenever they consume something, then that thing gets bound to their soul and they're able to summon it at will, basically. They can also, if they felt like it, get rid of something that's bound to their soul. So for instance, if Fang decides he doesn't want to use that specific sniper rifle anymore, he decides, it's like, I don't want this silent sniper anymore, I want a Barrett 50 cal now or something. He can just spit out that silent sniper and eat a Barrett 50 cal. I mean, they can store an infinite amount of memory inside, but Fang chooses to only store things for utility, and he doesn't really consume that many things and leave them in his power index, as I will refer to it. Arsfarce, however, he gets extremely creative, consumes tons of things and leaves them in his power index. If you were paid attention in the story, Arsfarce literally spat a railroad spike out of his mouth. And how was he able to do this? Because he ate a railroad spike, and then he summoned a railroad spike in his throat and spit it out, basically. This does not count as the rejection, though. He still wants to use a railroad spike, so thus he just materializes one and spits it out. Whereas, I mean, I did say that if they don't want to use something anymore, they spit it out, but it's a different kind of spitting out. You have to actually not want it. If you still want it, then you can spit out a physical variant of it, if you wanted to. But I mean, when you actually use a sniper rifle or a sword, it materializes, so it becomes a physical representation of the now spirit-bound weapon. But basically, when they want to get rid of the power, they just spit out a physical variant of it too. But they specifically need to have the intention of wanting to get rid of it if that's what they want, basically. But the reason why Arsfarce has all his powers is, yes, I said he was more creative with his use of consumption, as, like I mentioned, their powers come from consumption. The reason why Arsfarce has lightning-based abilities is because he literally ate a bolt of lightning as it came down. And he didn't just wait or anything, no, he wore full metal armor and laid it outside in a thunderstorm waiting for lightning to come down. And then he ate it. So that's how he got his lightning ability. Just so you know. Where they got the speed from, they got the speed from eating cheetah flesh. It's a bit different. It's a bit different. Also, Arsfarce is actually part wolf, not because he's a werewolf or anything, but their powers come from consuming things. But if you consume the heart of the animal, basically, it's kind of taking a little from the ancient civilizations playbook. If you consume the heart of an animal, you gain some of its attributes, basically. So this Arsfarce consumed a wolf heart, which gives him partial attributes of a wolf, basically, and it pretty much makes him part wolf. Kind of strange, but I mean, this is meant to be a strange story. I mean, even though the arse farce that the stories that I'm making about, like, he is considered a good variant, he's by no means like he'd be considered a good person, but he is the good variant because of the way he dealt with things, basically. So, within Arsefarce it contained the temptation to do literally anything, which, I mean, every human can be tempted to do anything anyway. It's just, it depends on whether you actually do it or not. The only temptation that Arsefarce actually fell to was the, cannibalism, basically. For some years, he did some mass cannibalism runs for some years, but he's definitely not proud of it, basically. He is not proud of that at all. Which, in the later installments, you'll see him talk about that, and, like, people talk about that more later. But pretty much because, and the reason why cannibalism is the only thing he fell into is because when he consumed the wolf heart, he got the attributes of a wolf. So, the instinct kind of just took over one day, and he consumed some human flesh, and then he got the taste for it, so he couldn't stop. Now, basically, because Arsefarce can regenerate, he will, rather than going after other people, he'll just consume, like, one of his fingers or something. Like, he'll literally cut it off and eat it, basically, so that he doesn't have to worry about going on a mass rampage consuming people. Basically, the reason why Feral Farce is considered a bad variant is because he didn't make this decision. He decided he's just going to continue eating people, basically. So that's where that comes from. Why Feral Farce is Feral Farce and Arsefarce is Arsefarce. Now, there are, of course, infinite variants of Arsefarce and infinite variants of Feral Farce. However, we're going to focus only on the ocular variants of these, the ocular shift variants more specifically. The ocular shift variants of these characters are basically, they're from the timeline where they get a slash to their right eye, and then their right eye, whether it is closed or opened, aka healed or unhealed, it depends on whether they're at full power or not. So, Arsefarce basically wears an eye patch like Snake, and his right eye, just like Snake, is the one that is sketchy, if you know what I mean. Doesn't work. Anyway, Arsefarce can regenerate, basically, but for his right eye, he chooses not to regenerate, because it allows him to hold back some of his power, basically. If he has a fully regenerated right eye, then his power comes back, basically. But it's not like once you regenerate something, you can make it unregenerate, so literally, to limit his powers, he has to slash his own eye again. That's basically what the ocular shift timeline is about. Him limiting his powers or not. Then there's other timelines, like the ocular timeline, where it basically, he doesn't do the shift, like his eye is healed or unhealed. Like ocular timeline A, his eye is healed, so he's just permanently weaker. Ocular timeline B, his eye remains unhealed forever, and he's just at full strength, always. But in ocular shift dimension, as I stated, he can switch between both of those states at will. Which, yeah, this is kind of complicated. I mean, there are infinite timelines, but we're only going to explore one for this series. Now, interestingly enough, like, the timelines thing is actually slightly important, because Arsefarce is slightly based off of me in real life. That's one of the reasons why that's my alias, and also nickname. Well, not nickname, but you know what I mean. That's the reason why it's my alias. Anyway, like, so he's partially based off of me, but he's also based off of a lot of things. Like, he's based off of Snake from Metal Gear Solid a little bit, and then it takes elements from tons and tons and tons of everywhere else. Like, the whole story takes elements from Red versus Blue, and just a lot of things. Like, you'll notice probably when I actually start doing more of the Ars Farce Chronicles, like, it literally just pulls in references and does tons of things to reference other things. But basically, Ars Farce and Fang, those are the only two characters in the series that are basically, they realize that it's just a series, pretty much. They realize it's just a series, and then, as you can see in that thing that I read, they literally took time out of the story to talk about something. That is not just a thing that I did for that. That's literally going to be a thing in the series when I actually start it. They're literally going to, like, pop out of the story and start talking about some random junk for no reason, and then they're going to go back into the story like nothing ever happened. I just thought that seemed like a funny idea. And if you're wondering about that panting, that's D-Doge over there. I don't have the Doge skin on him at the moment. So, just D-Dog, which is actually a wolf, kind of, actually. But he's referred to as dog. I always thought that was kind of interesting. And as you notice, I have this shoulder patch right here. Obviously, it stands for Shadows Wolf. As you can see, that's a wolf. Then the SZ, so Shadows. Then obviously you have your Diamond Dogs patch on the other side. I'm done talking about the Ars Farce Chronicles, of course, now. That's why I'm talking about the shoulder patches on the snake. Yes. But yeah, that'll basically end the conversation about Ars Farce. I will probably now be working on something that I teased a while back. I teased the I have nothing productive to do preview like some months ago. So I'm actually finally going to start making that video now. It's only about, like, going to be about 1 minute long, and it's in reference to something else. I'll link what it's in reference to in the description, like the actual video that I'm basically, the whole reason I made it is because I saw another video that was like 1 minute long, and I thought it was kind of funny, so I'm just parodying it, sort of. Anyway, see you later at the next chat and the ACC. Actually, before I go, like, when I say this, the talk on the ACC is a series, I use that term loosely because when I do a series, I don't want to say that it's going to be like a weekly series or something, because I really don't want to be that guy who says, I'm going to make a weekly series or a monthly series, and then I don't meet the deadline. Like, so basically every one of my videos and every one of my series will come whenever I feel like it, basically, whenever I get the inspiration to do it. So, having that said, now you're free to go to do whatever you want, viewer. You were probably ducking the dishes anyway, so go do them. Or go to work. Like, what the heck you need to feed your family, man. You need to feed your family.